Welcome to Van Build Day 0.5. So I decided I wanted to start this series with a 0.5 because a lot of the Van Build series that I'm binging and watching right now start with either like making the floor or like gutting and cleaning the van, and I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm doing ahead of that and before that. With that being said, I actually won't be making my videos on budgeting a van build or planning for a van build in the order of operations until the end of the build. That way I can make them to the best of my ability. But if you're watching this from the future, then lucky you, because all you have to do is press my playlist, my van build series, and it will come up there. Or if you don't want to wait, you can use VanLife Academy, which is the programming that I am using to build my van from the company that I work for, Project VanLife. And it goes through everything step by step, and it's by professional van builders. Okay, so I was going to start today by driving the van to a CAT scale and getting it weighed. There were a lot of people last week who commented on my video suggesting I get it weighed. And then I kind of had this brain blast where I was like, I can just Google the weight of a 2021 Ram ProMaster 2500 and that should be enough, right? Like when I finish the build is when the weight really matters. I completely agree with the importance of getting your vehicle weighed. An overweight vehicle after a build can be the cause of maintenance issues. It can be why your gas mileage is so high. But my thought now is, if it's overweight at the end of the build, what does the weight at the beginning of the build really have to do with that? Like, what am I gonna do? Remove the sliding door? Like, everything that's in here right now needs to be in here. So I decided I'm not going to weigh it, and I would love to know if anyone has opposing opinions and why. So feel free to comment. I'm okay with being wrong on that. Next, let's talk about starting a budget tracker. This is really important to keep track of how much you're spending and how much you have left in your budget. If you saw my video about why I decided to sell my old van, you will know how important I think budgets are. Outside of that, it's also important for insurance purposes to keep track and keep your receipts. That way, if you ever need to make a claim, if you decide to insure the inside of your camper as well, you have proof of those things. My old budget tracker has also come in handy twice already for this new build. Once when I was selling my old van, so I knew how much everything cost and went into it. But now I'm using it because, for example, I wanted to know how much kill mat I needed for the new van, and I wanted to compare how much I had used in the old van, and I just pulled up the receipts from the old kill mat. So this was my old budget tracker. As you can see, there are some literal receipts just chilling in it. Let me show you a page. So this is the first page that I did, and then I know some of y'all are gonna pause this and try to see how much I paid for everything in 2020. I think this ended up being really messy. Also, if I lost this or anything happened to this, I'd be screwed. So this time I decided to go for a digital format, and the one that I chose also had the ability to add photos of receipts, so it's been super great. It's just a random app that I chose. It's not special. It was like the first one in the App Store on my computer. In my current budget tracker, I keep track of what I bought, the cost of it, where I bought it, and a photo of the receipt. However, if you want a really great budget tracker for van life specifically, the VanLife Academy program has one in an Excel sheet with everything you'll need to buy throughout the van build already in it, and you can put your budget and your prices. That way, as you buy things, you can say, okay, this is what I've already bought, this is what I still need to buy, this is how much money I have left, which is invaluable and super awesome. However, you will need to have a separate spot if you want to keep track of your receipts.
Like when you start your first budget, you only plan out like, I need the refrigerator, I need the stove, I need the butcher block, I need this wood. You don't think like, I need 1,000 screws, I need this. Like that stuff adds up, and you're spending like $50 to $100 on like little attachments that you don't even notice. Like the system for the water, like all the shark bite fittings, I probably spent several $100s on just little clamps. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. All this stuff added up. Now my budget is way over, just because I didn't even know that I needed to budget for that. So knowing the things that you actually need to budget for, that's one thing. And then just going over it because you got the extra money, whatever, that's my problem.
All right, so the next thing on our list is finding/creating a workspace, because if I'm gonna be out here every single day for months, I need to have everything organized, and I also wanna figure out what I have left from my old van build so I don't overbuy. When it comes to buying things for your build, it's truly a balance. If you don't buy anything for your build until you have your van or until the day before you need it, you'll be doing a lot of waiting. But also, if you buy everything up front, you'll probably end up wasting some money. For example, I have had a roll of Reflectix in my basement for 3 years because I had nothing to use it for, though I thought I would. Kyle had actually expressed something similar during our podcast about how if you buy everything up front, sometimes you can end up getting past your return date of being able to return things that you no longer want to use. For example, he bought a stove but ended up wanting an oven. Not buying everything ahead of time also gives you space for change. Here was the original sketch for my last van build, and here's how it ended up. So much changed as I built. But again, on the flip side, you want to have everything ready to go when you are ready for it. So it's definitely just a balance. So something I hear all the time is people are super intimidated by the very first cut of their van build, which often is the max air fan, aka putting a giant hole in the roof of your brand new vehicle. So something that I did to prepare for, as someone who had never touched power tools until I decided to do a van build, was I started making other things ahead of time so I got better and used to using power tools. So I made my mom this fence for the backyard, and I made her this raised garden bed, which, by the way, look how great her garden is. She's thriving. She's doing great. She's got a garden over there. She's thriving. But by doing these projects, I felt ready to bring the power tools to my van. All right, so now that my workspace is set up, I think it's time to break out Old Reliable.
Wow, this looks like a job for Old Reliable.
Abadakdaba. All right, now let's talk about what tools you'll need for a van build. I actually stayed up late last night making this box just to make that joke, so I hope you appreciated it.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So, tools for a van build. I actually have this box just for the tools that I'm going to be using every single day. So the measuring tape, the safety glasses, and then on the bottom, just some wire cutters, some scissors, pens and pencils, just basic stuff. But honestly, I just like the box, is why that all goes in there. Also, my Craig jig will probably go in there as well. That is something that I use every single day. Small pieces, and I often was losing one piece or another, so having it in there will be super helpful. Another tool I use almost every day is a jigsaw. Then I have a circular saw. I like the circular saw for longer, bigger cuts because it makes cleaner cuts. However, if you're on a budget, you can just use a jigsaw for the same thing and it'll be totally fine. I have my impact driver and my drill, which I just took out a few minutes ago to take the thumbnail for this video. My battery, I actually will be buying more batteries because I'll be out here building all day long. All the stuff I sent with all the stuff because I haven't used these tools yet. I've been using my dad's for years. I also have this gas mask for when I'm spray painting or when I am cutting wood and I'm kind of close to like dust flying up in my face. So I actually really liked this. I don't see a lot of people using them in videos, but I liked it. And then I have a bunch of drill bits. No, it's not the same brand as everything else, so it's a different color. Tragedy. So that is what I have in my tool bag ready for Van Build 2.0. Oh, and I almost forgot. My sander is coming in today. I found that one of my biggest regrets in my last van build was not using a sander. Everything just didn't look finished, and it could have looked so much nicer and more professional with a sander. But at the time I was like, this is a corner I can cut. I don't need a sander. It wasn't. Just because it's about appearance and not about functionality doesn't really mean it's a corner you should cut. So Van Build 2.0, I'm taking that more seriously, so. Well, at least now I don't have to work out for the rest of the year, right?
But bad ones are cheap, and you're always like, oh, want to just buy the cheap one. But they're cheap for a reason. You really, really pay for what you get. And the cheaper you go, like, the more likely it's going to break within a year anyway. Every time I bought cheap tools, I just regret it. I'm just like, well, that was stupid. Like, I was like, broke as a student. I'm like, oh, this is a very cheap drill. 1 year later, the charger doesn't work. You can't buy the thing anymore. Like, if you go for like decent quality tools, doesn't have to be like the most expensive, but like high, like, you know, generally like the professional level of any tool set, not the ridiculously expensive ones, but like the general professional level, then there's two good things about it. One is like, it will last you like forever. Like you buy that tool, it's good quality, it will have a decent warranty, it's a reputable brand, and it will last you forever if you keep it. If you decide at the end of your van build, like, no free way of building anything again in my life, you can put that on eBay and they retain value. You lose like, because it's not being used very much. You've only done it one van conversion, so it's not used very much. You'll sell it for a decent amount, and you only lose like maybe like 20-30%. And that's like your rental cost. That's quite a cheap rental. You buy, you know, like an impact driver and a drill, and it costs you $200, and it costs you $40, and you lose $40 on it 1 year later when you finished your van or whatever. That's like $40 rental. It's fine. Yeah. It's like, it's totally fine. See it as a rental or a tool for life, and you can't go wrong.
The next thing I would recommend to someone who's at this stage of the van build is to join VanLife communities, join VanLife Facebook groups. Project VanLife has a VanLife forum. Join and become part of communities where you can ask questions, because you will inevitably have 5 million questions throughout your build, and being able to have people to bounce your questions off of is so helpful.
Some things are easy, like again, Facebook groups. There's like one that's called Surviving in the Winter, I think it's called. And so like when we were first starting out, if I had something going, I'm like, hey, this happened. Did anybody know what to do? And so many people, because there's thousands of people in those groups, right away you're just having answers of, oh yeah, it's most likely this, or check this.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember one time I was like, something happened, something broke, and I was like stressing. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to break our camper. And it was not even 10 minutes. She was like, hey, I posted in a group. Here's what we're supposed to do. I was like, oh, that was easy.
In the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, I'll actually go to the search bar and search things like security ideas or security measures that I added to my van, and just kind of use keywords. Or you could put like insulation in there and see all the posts about insulation and all the questions people before have asked. Now, mind you, please, 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 please remember, these groups are made up of anybody and everybody, right? So just because someone wrote it does not mean it's true. Do your research, take everything with a grain of salt. And something else that I think is just as invaluable is having a friend who's doing a van build. During my last van build, my friend Nolan, who now owns Renegade Vans, we were doing our very first van builds together, and we had no idea what we were doing, but it was nice to have someone who understood what I was going through, who was also having some struggles, some ups and downs, and was learning along the way. And being able to have someone on those days when things went wrong be like pushing you and supporting you is so helpful and so nice, and it just brought so much excitement to the van.
Honestly, if you're considering doing van life, don't tell anybody. Just don't tell anybody, because some people are going to try and talk you out of it. Some people are going to like try and influence you. It's just better to just go with your gut, go with your instinct, follow your dreams, and just don't let anybody talk you out of it. But if you are going to tell somebody, then you just say like, listen, this is the path I'm choosing, and I'm sure about it, and I'm happy with my decision. Just be happy for me.
And if you don't know anyone who's building a van, hi, I'm Tori, I'm building a van. Let's build vans together. All of you who've been commenting like, I just bought a van, I'm doing this, I love those comments and seeing how we can go through this process together. And with that said, I actually asked you guys on Instagram, what is the best advice you have for someone starting a van build? And I wanted to share some of those with you now. Joey the Nomad said, be ready for things not to work the first time. Miles Away from Brooklyn said, break down the van into systems. El Eclipse said, make sure you dedicate a space for your stuff or it'll be annoying and all over the place. Harold German suggested using an interior kit. Edrides73 said to have a list of goals that need to be done and reward yourself for achieving each one. Casey Smith said, plan to have to add more money than expected and plan for things to go wrong. Ed Beardley Kev said, pick 1 or 2 specific priorities, and whenever a compromise is necessary, choose based on those. Ray Kim Jr. said to build in stages before you finish everything. Try it out, go camping with just the bed in it. Ski Everything said, have a plan, but just start building. It's going to change as you build. And Kelly Wolfers said, snacks, which is right on. And my really great friend Dan, whose YouTube channel you should all go check out, said, just get her done.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams come true!
And I think my answer to, what is my greatest van build advice is that there's going to be a million different voices talking to you. People saying this is the best way to do something, but there is literally no such thing. And this is something that I got really frustrated about like 2 nights ago. Was I asked a simple question, or I had a simple debate on my Instagram story about sound deadening, and I got a million different results, and everyone had different opinions, and I was like, this is supposed to be an easy section of the van build. And I had like 10 different professionals message me, and they all had different opinions. And I was like, if professionals all can't agree on what the right or wrong way is, how am I supposed to, know and decide? And so I think at the end of the day, something that I learned from my first build is to not let decision paralysis stop you from actually building and getting it done, get her done, and getting out there.
It's people get really, really pent up about all of these different options and what to do and how to do it. But at the end of the day, if you kind of like use one of the 3 or 4 like normal, generally used methods, and you do a decent job, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I did find that. It was like no one ever had a complaint afterwards and was like, oh, my installation choice was terrible no matter what they chose. And so when you said that a big part of being able to finish a van build in 21 days is being decisive, that makes a lot of sense. Like if I would have just been like, all right, I'm going to watch 5 videos and pick the one that I think is best, instead of being like, I have to watch every single video and I have to go through all the different Facebook groups and I have to ask everyone their opinion. If I would have just been like, all right, I feel confident in this. This is some good choices. But that's
90% of the time, these decisions are not going to make or break you. So just choose and get building. And with that said, I'll see you in the next van build episode, which unfortunately we actually have a hurricane here for the next 3 days. So I likely won't be able to build for a few days, but flexibility is the name of the game when it comes to van building. So I'll see you real soon.
Expelliarmus, Harry Potter, the boy who lives, come to die.